Welcome, Rainmakers fans, to another edition of Make It Rain Divisional Playoff Round Edition. We are back in action for this week's slate of games, joined by special guest Ruthless, making another appearance here with us.
What's up?
Gentlemen, how are we all doing this fine Friday morning?
Doing very well. Excited to see the 4-game slate. I'm rooting for Dallas. I don't think they're going to win, but I'm rooting for them. So we will see how it goes.
Yeah, doing great. We got 4 good games this weekend, action-packed. 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. Getting down in the nitty-gritty. We got some nice prize pools here in Rainmakers. So, yeah, excited to talk through it with you guys.
Just another week. Just another week in the hood. Well, good. We can dive right into it. You know, obviously, the playoffs kind of brings a little bit of a different dynamic, some shorter slates. And, JJ, just kind of wanted to touch on maybe some things you're looking out for when constructing your lineups, versus the regular season. And obviously with the shorter slates, are you paying as much attention to late swap opportunities? How has your mindset kind of shifted here going into the playoffs?
Yeah, not really so much, just because there's only 2 games per slate. I mean, you kind of want to take shots where you can still, but it's pretty expensive at this point. All these players, they're just going to go to, 10% of their price after the game if they lose, and probably stay about the same if they win. So not taking too many shots here. I mean, at this point in the season, you're just pretty much playing what you got left and filling out the holes so you can make a lineup. But that's how I'm proceeding with it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Jake, have you been chasing down the marketplace at all? Have you been making some purchases, or still kind of leaning on what you have in your portfolio?
Yeah, not really. I've kind of looked just to see if there's any deals out there on low serial guys, if they're priced a little too low. I think I might have bought 1 or 2 cards, but it was mostly just to kind of fill, like JJ said, like fill out some lineups. So I had complete lineups ready to go. But I haven't been like going crazy. I already kind of got most of my shopping done already.
I mean, the cards have dropped some, but they really haven't dropped enough to make it worth buying a bunch of them, because they're, like you said, I'm seeing Mahomes is $50-$60, and if they lose this week, he's going to go down to like 10. It's one of those things that it's a high risk, high reward type thing if you're willing to do it. But
yeah, I made 1 purchase last week, and it was a Fournette. I just needed a rare card and kind of believed in Tampa Bay to some extent. And maybe that was a mistake. I think I fell for it just based on the all season. Dallas has been so much better, but I mean, I'm excited that there are 4 good games. I think we're getting the Cincinnati Buffalo game that we all envisioned was going to be, the game of the year. Obviously, DeMar Hamlin happened, but I'm just happy that there's a rematch. I think it'll be emotional. I don't know if there'll be 2 touchdowns like Hines running back kickoffs or anything, but which still to this day seems surreal. But I think that game is going to. I mean, I hope it actually. Yeah, this is more hope, and I do think that it'll be like a really high scoring game, but I hope it's something absurd like 38-35, Gabe Davis kind of something we saw last year with KC and Buffalo. That's all.
I'm also hoping that Daniel Jones continues his insane run and beats the Eagles. I love Jalen Hurts. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league, but I'm always an underdog rooter, and that would just be amazing if they continue to push.
Wait, Derek, are you also a Giants fan, or are you're just?
I'm a Daniel Jones fan more than anything else. It's a Dallas fan, but I also, as someone who's owned Daniel Jones in Dynasty for so long, and watched all the hate for the years of how he's just a terrible quarterback and they need to get rid of him. I'm rooting for him to secure the bag in this postseason. And
JJ is from New York. I was born in New York, and even though I'm wearing a Heat hat, I guess, but I grew up in Florida.
My pops is a Giants fan too.
Yeah, but it's like I don't have any expectations, which is kind of like a funny place to be in. It's not like there's Eagles with a first round bye, or just Dallas, who just is looking really good. I'm sure JJ feels the same. Well, maybe JJ's a little more pins and needles, but
No. I'm just happy to be here. Like, I expected us to beat the Vikings. Vikings just kind of a fraudulent team throughout the season, as we've all talked about. And Giants just matched up well against them. And I think against the Eagles, we have maybe, like a 30% chance. Depends on how Hurts is, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's the only way we win is if he's just underperforming, in my opinion. And if Jones has just a rocket ship game like he did last week, man. But yeah, excited to be here. Not playing any Giants players today, sorry, tomorrow, but just gonna stack the crap out of that Jags game. But yeah, it'll be fun one to watch.
Yeah, you could argue almost such a nice position to be in. Kind of playing with house money at this point, and you kind of just let it ride and see what happens. And a couple breaks go your way, you're on to the NFC Championship game. So we shall see. A lot of Giants fans. I don't know if we should be surprised by that. A lot of Giants fans in the community and my family, So definitely feeling the blue love here. So we'll see how that shakes out.
They're in hibernation, Poop. Like we hibernate because it's hard to get Giants fans a lot of times.
I know. I feel you, man. I gotta cover up my silver and black tattoos, 90% of the year. So I feel you,
But
well,
good. Sorry. I was going to say, regardless of what people play, I would say that because it's two game slates, you're going to have to take some serious risks in order to win. Obviously, if it's a chalk team, then you tie with 20 other people, but you're going to have to find that third string wide receiver that the card costs $4 and be willing to put them in these 2 game slates in order to win, probably. And it's going to feel really uncomfortable when you have all these studs that you feel like should go together better.
Yeah. And you're going to have to go obviously lower cereals too. If you are playing these studs. Yeah. It's a really interesting slate from that mindset. I would say, I think a big thing, late swap, like it always is, obviously going to be very huge on this slate too. The big thing to look for is like, if you are like seeing who you're tied with, who you're duped with after the first game, and then going from there. Like if you are like seeing if you're the lowest cereals out of your specific dupe, then you can kind of go more chalky, more higher projected guys in that second game. But if you're getting duped with like 5 other people and you're on the very tail end, then you got to get like Derek said, you got to get different on some spots and go a little bit more off the board. So I think that's something that's going to be huge on this slate is knowing where you're at after that first game, and then adjusting from there.
One question I had is, do you think people are going to play single game stacks in these dual slates very often, or do you think most people are going to try and mix and match? Because, like with it being 2 game slates, one game could just be a complete dud and one game could go off for, 80 points between the teams. So it seems like not a lot of people would just be willing to say this game's going to suck, especially when all 4 games are pretty solid games. And so like avoiding a game seems like a strategy that not a lot of people would be willing to risk. Maybe the Dallas 49ers game, if people think that Dallas is going to underperform and the 49ers are just going to run it, but I think people would still probably play like Christian McCaffrey or someone like that. So
run a heavy single game stack.
Mm-hmm. Just like five positions, 2 from one team, 3 from the other, or something like that.
And based on last week, it like didn't matter.
Everybody went off.
Yeah, there were very few players who just had like scored under double digits that were like one of the higher owned players.
Yeah,
so that's every QB too, except for one, which was
right.
Yeah, and I heard a lot of people complaining because they're like, "Oh yeah, you could have had an amazing team that did well, and you had no chance of cashing just because you didn't have the perfect pieces." So hopefully that doesn't happen this week. But there's a lot of high scoring potential, and so it could be unless you decided to play New York Giants players, you probably are scoring really high. So
yeah, I think every over hit last week except for the last game where it was like a point off from hitting. So it was definitely on a very higher end of scoring last week. who knows if that's what it is this week again? But I'm sure there definitely will be some shootouts with these teams.
Yeah, for sure. And a little surprising too going into the week. You had obviously the Tua or the Dolphins quarterback injury situation, and they were still able to put up points and move the ball on this Bills defense. And even the Ravens made a little bit of a game of it, even if they didn't put up a huge total of points. Definitely made it interesting. So a very compelling start, the wild card weekend last week. Just the way we kind of like. Just the way we want to see it start off, into this divisional round, and now this is kind of where the rubber meets the road, right? You get the one seeds coming back into play here, and so now it's time to get out of the kiddie pool and jump into the deep end here in the playoffs here, and see where everyone kind of matches up. And I love the matchups this week as well, as we'll talk about once we get into our Vegas segment here along the lines. But I think from a strategy standpoint, I agree with everything that was said here. I do like I don't mind the single game stack idea either, especially on these shorter slates. It's the way to get different, way to get unique. If you hit on it, you're sitting pretty, so definitely don't mind that angle as well, Eric, there. Great stuff. Anyone else have anything to add there?
I just think with the 2-game slates instead of like the weekend slates, or just like 1 weekend slate or 4 showdown slates, you don't get enough differentiation. Like last week, I ran basically the optimal lineup on Sunday, which was like I think it was like a Josh Allen stack with Diggs, Chase, Gabe Davis, and then some Saquon or something. And I didn't even really think about the fact that I'd be duped that much. I think there were 58 players or something, 58 teams, and I happened to be the second worst or whatever. I had a chance to swap, but I just chose I can't win, so I'm just going to stand pat. It's fine, whatever. But this week is going to be even worse with that. Mm-hmm. So if ever there was a week to throw in Shakir, McKenzie, or I don't even think Irwin has a card. Not that he's really getting reps, but Boyd. Any of those players, or Jalen Jennings, or just even Eli Mitchell is kind of there's so. I think it really will be. I don't think the optimal is just going to be end up optimal this week.
It's just really tough. We've seen it in showdowns. It's really tough to have the optimal, all those players hit and no one else score anymore.
Yeah, well,
I think it's a really good week to get.
Sorry,
I was I was just saying, like you're saying, I think it's a good week to get different in the first game of the slate, and then you're gonna. Then you can at least play. You can play, the optimal in the second game if you want to. If your first contrarian guy hits, if you play, what is it, Jags Chiefs first? If you play Pacheco and he goes off or something in that game, Pacheco and Evan Ingram. Stop, probably no one else. There's gonna be very few people that play that, and then if those two hit, then you go, play. You can play a Jalen Hurts stack in the second game. It kind of, and if it doesn't hit, then you can just play some dud guys in your lineup, just some throwaway backup guys, and then you kind of just off of that lineup. So I think it's a really good week to get different in the early game, to try to differentiate your lineup and avoid dupes.
Sorry.
No, go ahead there.
I was going to say, I'm going to really laugh if CEH is the running back you need on Saturday.
Oh, God.
Full circle. No, I mean, that is an interesting game to start us off on Saturday, that Chiefs game, because as we know, that outside of Kelsey, I mean, they like to spread that ball around. So you can really make some true dart throws, because it really could, be any one of a handful of people outside of Kelsey that can, put up some points there and maybe score a touchdown or two. So it'll be an interesting way to kick us off.
And no Hardman, which is basically, I felt like the other guy. I think he was actually starting to get more, not target share, but just involved in Juju, and he's going along, and he hasn't played in 10 weeks now. So I don't know what's up with him. I was really hoping he'd come back, but yeah, right now it's just a dart throw for that game, so it'll be interesting.
For sure. Very good, fellas. I think that's a good kickstart for everyone watching to kind of build their lineups around and just kind of digest a little bit of kind of where everyone's thinking going into the slate and how we can kind of construct our lineups and give ourselves the best shot to win on Saturday and Sunday. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into our marketplace segment and take a look at some of the weekly gainers and losers across the marketplace, see if we can find some edges. Obviously, with the short slate, maybe some value isn't quite as apparent as in weeks past, but still worth looking through. Theric, did you want to go ahead and walk us through this?
Yeah, a lot of it makes sense for the losers that have tanked recently. A lot of players that did not make the cut from last week, and people are selling off, trying to get rid of. People really wanted to get rid of most of the Chargers players, which doesn't surprise me, as well as the Vikings players. And I'm guessing a lot of that happened even before the game started because people felt that those two teams were the most fraudulent that were in the playoffs. So that probably started the run even before the games played. There are some surprising things here, like DeAndre Swift being a high weekly gainer in the rare tier. People are, I guess, getting a little creative with Gardner Minshew, but I think that's a really, really stupid play. But I know why they're doing it. They're worried about Jalen Hurts. But other than that, it's just such a galaxy brain move that I don't see paying off. So, if you want to go for it, go for it. But you need like a million things to happen correctly to make it work out. Other than that, I don't see anything that truly sticks out as surprising. Trevor Lawrence being $20 cheaper in the rare is surprising to me. I think he has it. I think the Jaguars have a legitimate shot against the Chiefs, and so people trying to sell off Trevor Lawrence surprises me as well. But other than that, everything seems to make sense to me. What about you guys? Do you see anything that sticks out?
I see JJ's boy Debo making a little rise up in the rare and elite, deservedly so. But I know JJ, you couldn't make it last week, but did make sure to get that shout out in for you. And obviously he went off and had a great week, so great call there, man.
Yep.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I just want to say I think some of these it might be a little misleading just because there's like no sales on these players and it's just listings getting higher. Right, like DeAndre Swift, for example, being at the top, like there's no sales on him at that price.
Okay,
so,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, earlier in the season, it didn't matter because there were just consistent sales for these players. But just some of them just go up, and it's like you said, it's just whoever made it is going up, and whoever didn't is going down, except for Trevor Lawrence, which I think sticks out. I guess people just really don't want to hold him after they probably lose that game.
The Darius Slayton rise seems a bit much, even though I think he's always been like pretty good for the Giants, especially this year. Like with how their injury, the fact that the Giants are even here is amazing. With how many injuries they've had, dating back with the wide receiver core dating back to like Colin Johnson tearing his Achilles or ACL in the preseason. Like it's honestly been like 6 or 7 wide receiver injuries throughout the year. That said, I don't know, like, can you not get Hodgins or Richie James? I think I'd take Slayton over Richie James, but Hodgins is that dude. And I just think if you can buy Hodgins, I'd buy him over.
He doesn't
Slayton.
have a card.
There's no card.
Yeah.
Richie James does, but yeah, like you said, he's not worth it over Slayton. But
I wanted to buy Hodgins last week, and I was like, oh, come on, no card. So then I settled for Slayton, and he actually had like 10 targets, but he didn't.
He had a pretty good game. But
he dropped. Oh, that's what it was. He dropped a ball for his bonus.
Oh,
wide open pass.
Sounds about
right.
right.
Right at the end of the game, just blatant drop. There's no one near him.
To seal
the game too, and to seal his 100-yard bonus. I would have had such a nice lineup going in that. It doesn't matter, but still a little rattled about it.
Pretty much the story of Darius Slayton's life, right? He's going to flash and flash and flash until he doesn't, and you know why he doesn't. Yeah, I can see, obviously, as this player pool gets a little more consolidated, guys like Slayton are going to have a little more eyes on him, and it kind of is what it is at this point on these shorter slates, and got to kind of find the production, find the volume, and he certainly, fills that category well for the Giants. So, but yeah, I think No other real big surprises here. I think everything seems to make sense. You get some sprinkling of some Jags players. I'm with you that Lawrence one kind of sticks out, but it makes sense. You can tell a little bit of a story about why people would be selling off on Lawrence if they think that the Jags here are not going to win, or I'm sure a majority of those people are playing Mahomes instead of Lawrence in their lineups and putting bait on Lawrence. So it definitely makes sense.
Real quick, I just wanted to highlight that for the viewers, like, you're gonna take a 60 to 80% L on any player that does not make it. Like, if you're lucky, a little less, but just know that.
For sure.
Just know what the risk is.
Yeah, it's very high risk reward here and then of the season.
I will say from personal experience, people are still buying though. You gotta accept that you gotta drop it a little bit low, but people are still buying cards. I was able to sell off a ton of cards of playoff players for, I don't know, $5-10 under floor. So it was pretty simple. It helped for me that I collected a lot of the lower serials, like the 2-digit serials for rare. But still people are buying. It hasn't completely shut down.
Yeah. And again, it highlights something I said in the last episode, in that, like, if you bet on these guys early on, like from the teams that are like the most elite teams, the Buffaloes, the Kansas Cities, the Phillies, and you buy those cards, maybe mid-season, later in the season, like, those cards are going to actually retain their value, possibly even increase, throughout the playoffs. So those are going to be some nice bets, going forward. Definitely will apply that to my strategy next season after seeing this price action.
Yeah, absolutely. Great shouts there. And yeah, right with you there, Ruth, as well. Definitely have to manage expectations with any marketplace purchase this time of season. I would like to think that majority of players at this point in the season kind of know what they're getting into, hopefully. But the price of these cards as the teams start to thin out, obviously highly volatile right now. So something to be mindful of, and just make sure you have your expectations in order if purchasing anything on the marketplace. Gentlemen, good stuff. Did we want to take a look at the other marketplace slide here real quick there, and just kind of see kind of the same trends translating here? But go ahead and talk us through it just for a second here.
Sure. Obviously there's a little weirdness in the highest floor prices, but like JJ said, some of it is just people not paying for certain players. Seeing Geno Smith being so pricey, it's probably because he's out and nobody's gonna pay for that. Other than that, it makes pretty good sense. Most of these players are playoff team players, pretty expensive, and people are jumping on them to try and get the last little bit of money out of it. But as you can see in these floor sums, we were having a pretty steady, pretty calm couple weeks as far as price drops, and then it dropped pretty hard this past week, just due to the fact that we just saw the last games for a lot of teams. So the speculation is off on all those teams, and people are trying to get out. So that makes sense as well. But it's one of those things we're going to see that I'm pretty sure we're going to see another drop like that after this weekend too. So
I see the same thing as you. Some of these players obviously have went up quite a bit, but just a general trend, just continuing downwards, right? As we get towards the end of the season, and just predict that it's going to keep going down until the end.
Yeah, I don't have much else to add there.
Yeah,
I just see fair market value on the lead floor graph. Like, it should be 90K at the beginning of the season, maybe a little inflated, and it probably should be around 20K for a floor set around now. I guess the market's somewhat sharp in the way that everything is priced.
Yeah, no doubt about that. It is kind of fun. I know we touch on these graphics weekly, but here at this point, seeing the trajectory of that chart literally from day one, it seems like as soon as the season starts, it just starts its gradual decline. But that's to be expected, and again, something we can kind of weigh into our strategies next gear it and kind of plan our
Yeah.
portfolios around for sure.
Yeah, and actually, I do want to say that it's probably a lot lower than 20K, right? Just for that reason of Geno Smith. There's probably a ton of players that people are just not buying, that are like $20 or $25. So it's probably even lower than that.
Yeah, we need an offer system so we know. We can figure out what the real floor is on all these.
Yeah. But I mean, like Derek said, people are buying. Like if you list something at $5 for an elite, that people are buying that instantly almost, just for franchise core and other reasons, I'm guessing.
Yeah, the burn, all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is some floor on these cards.
I just wanted to pose a question real quick. Do you think that based on like this, we'll go to the end of the season more so than playoffs, I'd say. But from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, let's say it's a 4x drop in portfolio price. So that means that you need 4x return to profit, I would think, or maybe you need 3x. You just need to, a 4x multiple on whatever that set is. Do you feel like that has somewhat been accomplished, at least in EV? Obviously, variance is variance, but for me, I feel like yes, I would say that even though I have spent this, I have gotten close to that back, if not more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, like some of us have had big hits that kind of offset a big portion of that. But even if not, like I think the earlier you start and if you just keep reinvesting it and compounding, like, eventually you're going to end up with like 50 lineups in the elite and with 20 min caches, right? And that adds up every week. And, it's going to be a race, of course. Like if you offset that 4x multiplier on your portfolio versus a drop off, but I think it's very doable, especially if you start at the very beginning. Because I think we started like end of week 2, week 3, and we were late to the game, where most of the money was in week 1. Double the prize pool. So I think just the earlier you start, the better for this kind of thing.
The other thing would be look for the cheaper cars, the backups that could be starters and everything like that, because they will, regardless of whether you want to play them or sell them, they will go up fast and hard. Is what we saw over the season.
Exactly.
If they start doing well,
versus
not even if they do well, right? Like Deshaun Watson, you could have held him for 13 weeks and then he absolutely ripped, right? After that, $10 at rare, and then all of a sudden it was like 200 for that week of his debut. So, I mean, just to your point, like holding these backups is really low risk and high reward.
Yeah. Also, a lot of these backups are like lower supply than the main guys too. So, like you said, when they do rip, they go higher than they even should, just because there's such low supply out there.
Yeah, I'm just getting every 49ers backup quarterback, man, because that team. Something with their strength and conditioning, man. I mean, it's a pattern over years. Like there's something going on there with their personnel. So just target those guys.
Yep.
All the time.
Them and the Chargers, tale as old as time.
Yeah.
But that was
that
was really the thing too. Is something that you need to keep in mind for next season was guys like Jimmy Garoppolo, that like they're a mediocre quarterback. They're probably not going to crush or anything like that. But the 49ers had plenty of showdown games. And if you wanted to make some money, you probably needed him just because he was going to be one of the high scorers. And because of such a low supply, he was ridiculously priced compared to what his actual value was. So buying him when he was early, like looking for those cards where this past season they only released like half the supply of everything else or whatever. It's like it really didn't matter the quality. Was it a starter, and is there a low supply, and the price would jack up way more than someone of similar caliber that had way more cards. So that was another thing. Yeah,
exactly right. And that's something we touched on at the start of the season, was target these teams that have multiple showdowns, right? Like I was really big on Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones, not because I liked them as players, but just because they were likely to be in the nuts every time they were in the showdown. And I think 4 out of the 5, they were in the nuts for both of those players.
Denver too.
Oh yeah, Denver. Oh my God.
Oh my God. Way too many Denver showdowns in PTSD.
Yeah, and Indy. Didn't we get like 4 Indy primetime
No,
games
yep.
towards the end of the season
Yeah,
or
we
something?
did.
That just it's gotta love it. But no, all good stuff. JJ, I think a lot of, or really everyone here, all of the, kind of the strategies and tips you put out earlier in the season, kind of watching them come to fruition throughout the course of the season is definitely something to hang your hat on, regardless of result, week to week. You guys have been spot on with a lot of your tips and tricks and strategies. So, again, something for everyone to kind of move forward with into next season. All right. Good stuff, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and kick it on over to Jake and take a look at what Vegas has given us this week in terms of some game lines. Lots of nice high game lines. Some juicy nuggets out there, it looks like. Jake, you want to talk us through it?
Yeah, sure. Decently high scoring or high totals, I should say, in the playoffs, which makes sense. We got some good offenses, some decent to great offenses here. So should be some fun games to watch, at least from a scoring perspective. No crazy close games. Like 4 is the closest one with the Cowboys, 49ers, and the Saturday slate here. We got both touchdown or more here spreads. So it'll be interesting. It looks like that Jags Chiefs game is going to be the target for a lot of people here, both in DFS and in Reignmakers, I would assume, with a lot of different options you can kind of go to on both offenses, and some higher scoring environment for both those there. Yeah, I don't have any crazy takes here. I'm curious what hear you guys some initial thoughts here.
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, I like the Jags Chiefs game. I think the Jags probably keep it close, so I'm stacking up the Jags myself. I don't expect them to win, but if they even are keeping it close, Trevor Lawrence has to throw for 3-4 touchdowns in that game, probably. I don't see them really doing it with ETN all that much, just because he doesn't get involved in the passing game too much. But for the Bengals, I have Bengals as my pick to win the Super Bowl, so I got a futures bet on them. But I think I would be big on Joe Burrow putting up a big game this week.
Yeah, I would kind of. I don't know if I second the notion of them winning a Super Bowl, but I do think Joe Burrow is not going to let this be a 5.5 like spread. I think it's actually going to be a pretty close game. I think I don't know. It almost feels like maybe the Bengals should be like +3, +3.5. I just don't. I think Bengals. I mean, they beat KC this year. Was that in KC? I don't remember, but they've definitely been looking pretty good after starting off kind of dicey. I think they might have been 3-3 to start the season, and then they ended up like going something like winning 8 of their last 10 games or something. Pretty solid. And yeah, last week that was a divisional game. Of course, things are going to be tight. And Baltimore, they've got a great coach, so it was like, yeah, that made sense. I love Buffalo just as a team. I just think that this spread is a little too far, and I think it'll be a pretty close game. The Dallas 49ers game, I can't really get a handle on Dallas because there have been weeks where I've literally been like, Dallas is the best defense in the history of DFS, and I've been like, all right, I'm going to go for it. And then they just against Houston, and they just forgot how to play football. For 3.5
it's really hard to predict what they're going to do. Dak can have games like last week where he's just absolutely 100% amazing, and then he can have games where he'll throw 3 picks and 100 yards, and so it's really hard to tell which Dallas is going to show up this coming week.
It's a Giants homer in me, but they're going to get slaughtered. I think.
You think Dallas is going to get slaughtered?
I think they're going to get absolutely wricked. But we'll see.
What if that defense shows up? It could be Purdy's reckoning.
Purdy. I was going to
say
Purdy's one of those quarterbacks that's kind of being hidden by the talent of the people around him. And so that's up to Dallas's defense. But I forget what the stat was, but he threw at least 3 interceptable passes last week that just did not get intercepted. And so it's like, what, I don't know if you guys saw Tom Brady telling Leighton Vander Esch, right after the game, he came up to Leighton Vander Esch and asked him how many interceptable passes did he almost get? And Leighton Vander Esch goes, "Oh, a couple," and Brady goes, "We'll catch them next week." So it's one of those things where, you know, the defense will have opportunities for turnovers against the 49ers, but it's going to be a battle of turnovers. I think that Dallas is going to have to win this game. Because frankly, they don't have the talent that the 49ers do. They have good talent, but the 49ers have more talent, especially now with CMC on the team.
Yeah, I would say maybe outside of Philly, San Francisco's kind of in a league of their own in terms of talent on paper, right? Yep. But the Cowboys, it's one of those classic, once you push me out, you pull me back in situations. It's just, what are you going to get? Who's going to show up? Wouldn't be completely surprised by an upset here. I think we've all hit it, right? Purdy's going to be the X factor, right? It's going to be, he's still a 7th round rookie playing in the playoffs here. I don't think that should be discounted. Right? There is, some experience curve here that does play into it. Doesn't mean he can't get it done. But if they do lose, it wouldn't shock me if he's the cause for it. I don't think that would shock anyone at this point. So, all being said, I'm in love with this with this lineup of games. I think they're all compelling. They've all got some really nice matchups baked in. That Bengals-Bills game is pretty much what playoff football is all about. It looks like there's going to be some evening snow there, but it's going to be cold as shit. It looks like, right around freezing temperatures, 33, 34 degrees. So, it'll be a little bit of a nail biter there. And we'll see how these two legitimate Super Bowl contending teams stack up against each other in this kind of environment. So, some exciting stuff through and through. It'll be a good weekend of football. Anyone else have anything else they want to add there? Jake, go ahead.
No, I was just going to add on to the excitement of the games. I think it's a great lineup. I mean, the highest spread that we have here is also the highest total game of the slate. So, you're going to be wanting to watch it anyway for the points. And the underdog is a team that just came back from 27 points last week. So it's not like there's someone you can just count out right away if they get down early. So yeah, it's going to be a fun one. I think one game that could be a blowout. Sorry, JJ, but I feel like the Eagles-Giants. I just have a feeling that the Eagles are well rested, man, and they're just going to come out firing. They just have so much talent on that offense, and the defense.
They really don't have many injuries either. So.
Yeah, I remember seeing a similar line like this and I was thinking, man, Eagles is the easiest bet ever. So setting up pretty nicely for that again. But hey, I think the Eagles play it a little on the safe side in terms of scoring. Just put the ball away and just put the game away. Just run the ball a million times. If they have even like a 6-point lead or something, I'm just telling you, man. I think they're not gonna fuck around, but I could totally see them blowing them out as well.
I want to defend JJ and the Giants. Well, first, I think that over-under is the fact that it's a half a point lower than the Cincinnati Bengals game is a testament to how egregious that over-under is for the Bills. That the Bengals,
that's wild.
That's crazy. But Dable, I was so impressed with his play calling last week that I was like, this guy can beat anyone. I'm not saying it will happen, but I do think that game, I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be like a hard fought, like Cincinnati, Baltimore divisional rival, like banger of a game. Just, it might be, I mean, maybe because Eagles have such a good offense, but it'll be like 10-7.5 and pretty like, I just really think Daboll has a chance. I don't know if the Giants do, but I think Daboll can outsmart the Eagles somehow.
I definitely agree there, but it's going to all depend on Daniel Jones making mistakes or not. And I think we've gotten pretty lucky to this point for him to have not made many mistakes, just given his history. But
when has luck turned to skill?
Exactly. And, the DBs on the Eagles, they hit pretty hard. And so we'll see what happens. 70 75-yard rushing from Daniel Jones without a fumble. I don't know if that's going to happen again, but if it does, hey, I'm liking that spread then.
Yeah, that shoulder injury to Hurts too. I know he's not on the injury report, and all signs point to him feeling good. But coming out of that last game, towards the end of the last game he played, the coaches were pretty adamant that he was in pain. So just because he's not on the injury report doesn't mean he can't re-aggravate or something along those lines. I don't want to dig too deep into the weeds there, but it's an injury that has a probability of recurring as well. So something to be mindful of. But we'll see how the Giants stack up here. I think surprisingly their defense, they've got some spots on that defense where they play pretty well, especially at the safety position. They can get some turnovers, maybe make some things happen. See what happens. Crazier thing, that's for sure, especially in a divisional matchup. So, but. All being said, yeah, I think that just goes to our original point. A nice slate of games here stacking up for us Saturday and Sunday, and a really fun weekend of football ahead for us as we look ahead towards a championship weekend next week. All right, gentlemen, we'll appreciate another really good episode here of Make It Rain. A lot of things to digest and build our lineups around here into the Saturday and Sunday slate of games. Should be a fun one. Should be a real fun one. Good luck to everyone here on the leaderboards. Let's go ahead and take something down and make it rain here in the divisional round of playoffs. Ciao, everybody.